It's great to be here. And all I'm going to do is actually share you my story, which kind of gels with the topic today of inspiring curiosity. And it's nice to see lovely young girls. That doesn't mean that we don't want to see the guys, but it's really nice to see you all. So here I am. I want you to do one thing just for a couple of seconds, if you can. Just close your eyes and think of an image of a taxi driver. Just 2 seconds. Don't cheat, okay? Okay, so here you open your eyes and I want you to tell me, what is it that you thought of? Did you think of this? Did you think of this? No. So nobody thought of this, right? And that happens to be me right now. So who am I? I am Asia's first woman commercial driver. What does a commercial driver mean? So a commercial driver means that you drive a yellow number plate car as against a white number plate car. That's the only difference. You also drive passengers who pay you. You're doing a free service for everybody at home, and I chose not to do that. So that's what I did. So why did I do that? There are a couple of reasons actually why I got into this business and why did I make this into my business. I am a master's in economics from Bombay University. Did pretty well for myself. But I was going through an entirely horrible phase of my life, a personal life. And we had no money to eat. I didn't know where my meal would come from the next day. And to my benefit, I did something which was, I had a skill rather, which was amazingly good. So I did, in management schools, this is now taught to you as a SWOT analysis. I didn't know about the SWOT analysis. So I simply took a piece of paper and I wrote down what I did best. And at every point of time, when I did it at 4 different times on one single day, the one thing that actually came up was driving. And why driving? Because right from the age of 18, I turned 18 in 1978, so I'm 57 now. And I decided that this is it. Driving is my passion. So I started participating in car rallies. So I've done so far about 85 car rallies, and I have won 80 of them. So the only 5 rallies which I actually lost, I like to think that it was not my fault, it was my navigator's fault. So I won all the 80 rallies on my own. And I have zero modesty when I say, and I'd like to think, and this is the only place I have no modesty, which I say that I am the best driver in the world. I don't think anybody can drive better than me. It gives me immense pleasure. Cars excite me. I see a car coming out, it just thrills me. I see the fuel tank full, it excites me. So shopping, jewelry, gossip, nothing excites me. It's only cars and fuels. So, it's like a incentive for me to see a new car. It's an incentive for me to drive a new car. And so this is what made me think that, wow, when, I don't have any money to feed my children. I have 3 lovely boys and I have no money to feed them. I don't know where my next meal is going to come from. Maybe I should try my hand at driving. And who in the family is going to pay me? Nobody is going to pay me. So I also was a very popular person to be invited for parties. I'm a teetotaler. I don't drink, I don't smoke. So, for the longest time, I did not realize why people were calling me. I was there, and they used to also tell me, you come at, 11:30, 12. It was much later in life that I realized that they actually wanted me to drop them back home. They would get drunk, and I was the one who was just ferrying them across back home and dropping them safely home. And they had no gratefulness whatsoever, because next morning, I would get up and call them and say, are you okay? And they say, kya hua? So there was zero gratefulness. So I said, no, this doesn't work. Why don't I try to make this into a profession where I might get paid? So I decided that I must start a cab service, which would be only for women, and only women would drive it. So I said, all my women friends who want to go out and do whatever, They can come back and I will drop them back home. So that was one me. But to start that, the least that you'd require was at least a car and one driver. Somebody would need to drive it, right? And you'd need a vehicle. I mean, we're not going to cart them on your shoulder. So we had no money. I mean, I had absolutely, when I'm saying I had no money, it's not that I had no money in my bag and I had lots of money in the bank. No, I had no money anywhere. So what do I do? So I went to, I called someone and I said, you should give me an advertising agency's number because I want to actually start this business and I need something closer to my house. So I want to go there. So to cut it short, they gave me a number of an ad agency and I called this gentleman. People come in, God sends angels in some way to you. And I have experienced it in my life all the time. So the number that I got, I actually called this gentleman and I said, I want to come and meet you. And he said, Ajo. So I really thought, I was one big vela. I had no work at all. And I said, this man actually tells me you come now. So when I land up there, and I thought to myself, he would be some small guy, having some 4 or 5 people working with him. When I reached there, I actually saw this guy with 200 people, a staff strength of 200 people sitting in his office. And I didn't know him at all. It was like somebody, I can go to you and say that I need some money to start my business. So when I went there and I told him that I have a great idea. So he said to me, Mere paas jo bhi aate hai, come with great ideas. Nobody says that it's a bad idea. So when I went there and I said that I want to start a women's taxi service, he said, great, what do you need from me? I said, I need a lot of credit because I don't know I have no money, I'm going to start something and I don't know when I'm going to start, what I'm going to do. So he said, theek hai, main sochta hoon, let me come back to you tomorrow. And I came back home and I told my boys at home that, I said, this is what happened. And I went and told him that I'm starting this business. And they said, Mom, you've lost it. Nobody goes and shares ideas. I completely disagree with that. Because I think that sharing of ideas doesn't mean that somebody can copy it. It's your idea. You cannot not share something. So it worked in my favor. The guy called me and said, come back. So I went back and he said, chalo, let's start. And we decided that he would spend for me on advertisements, on anything that I need, up to about 5 lakhs. I had no idea what that 5 lakhs would mean. He then said to me that, if you are not able to pay me this back in 6 months, then the company becomes mine. I was ready for anything. So we quickly put an ad in place. We took a tabloid midday in Mumbai. And we created the first huge full-page ad saying, creating Asia's first women's taxi service. Kindly call on the following numbers. One of them happened to be wrong because we didn't do any proofreading. We were so excited about our project that we just didn't bother to do any proofreading. And the calls started coming. So we released this advertisement on the 25th of January, 2007. And we had huge calls, huge number of calls that came to us. It was out of curiosity. There were women calling me because they didn't know that it was a commercial taxi driver service. It was all they thought was it was going to be an event. And in that event, they're going to pay about 1,000 rupees. So 26th January, unfortunately, tragedy struck. My husband became critically ill and we rushed him to the hospital and we lost him on the 29th of January. I belong to a very, very conservative Bengali family from Tripura. I don't know if there's any Bengali community person here, but in our community, leave aside going out, but there's a complete physical change in the way the person looks. If my age people who are here would have seen films like Swami and things. So you actually change into white clothes. You change into, you're considered, that's the image of a widow. I also did that because that's the way our community functions. And I had locked myself in the room and I said, no, I can't go out now. I don't know what I'm going to do. So at least 40 days we don't go out. On day 4, and all I was doing was actually just weeping. On day 4, a friend of mine came to visit me and he said, I must meet you. And he came and gave me a book because I read a lot. So he gave me a book on Swami Vivekananda. I'm telling you this because it changed the course of my life. He gave me this book and I can never forget this, that on page 26 of that book, there's a graphic representation of Swamiji sitting under a tree. And there's a blind boy who's sitting in front of him. That blind boy asks Swamiji, he says, Swamiji, is there anything worse than losing your eyesight? And Swamiji turns around and says, yes, my son, losing your vision is worse than losing your eyesight. It simply changed my life. I shut the book and I said, no, this doesn't work. I have not cried for my husband after that. I thought it's not good to make insult him in any way. I shut the book. That was my first self-hurdle that I crossed. I lived in a joint family. We had 14 of us living there. And that time when my husband had passed away, there were some 45 people in my house. I called my mother-in-law and I told her, I said, I need to step out. And I said, I must go out and do something in my life. And I'm trying to do something. This woman who happens to be my mother, related to me through my in-laws, became my supreme mother that day. She held my hand and she said, yes, you must go. And she said, I have only one condition on which I will let you go. I was, of course, willing to agree to anything, but the condition that she put just blew me apart. I mean, she just simply said to me, the first thing that you will do is you will change your attire. You will not be in white, you will change back to colored clothes, and you will go out the way you were earlier. And the reason she gave me for making me do this was that she said, I do not want my grandchildren to get up every day in the morning, look at you, and remember that they don't have a father. I mean, how profound is that? This is a lady who had no education. So to think that wisdom comes from education is wrong. It is not okay. This woman has simply no qualification or a degree to be told that this equates to wisdom. She empowered me so much. Trust me guys, I have never looked back after that. We were in extreme poverty when this happened. My husband was in a comatose state for 2.5 years. And I had spent every pie that we had. And over and above that, I was in a debt of about 3 crores of rupees just trying to look after my husband. We couldn't keep him alive even after that. Destiny is destiny, but I decided then that I'm stepping out and that is it. I'm going to make my life. And here I was, I stepped out, I went back to this gentleman, Jayesh Chandan, who had, given me the offer of giving me credit for about 5 lakhs. So we decided that that had come, we had to now start looking for drivers. And we also realized that we're not going to get drivers just like that. So the sad story of my life had to get empowered into the beautiful success story that we have after this. And we did just that. So I became, by default, the first woman commercial driver because I took that one car which a friend of mine gave me. It was a rotten second-hand Indica, which every time I started was to make the huge noise that the whole building knew that I was starting the car. I went back to him and I told him that I need 2 more cars. And he gave me 2 more cars. And every time he asked me for, the cars, the money, my standard statement was, mil jayega aapko paisa. So we started the taxi service because we had, what is the meaning of starting a taxi service? I had 3 drivers by then. So a lot of people had applied. I had tested them. So we got these 3 girls on board and we started. So what was the meaning of start? All we did was we put some stickers around the car and 500 rupees diesel in the car and we used to just float around the city of Bombay. 3 cars in the city of Bombay was not going to get us business. So, but around our areas, people had started seeing our vehicles. So one day a friend of mine called me and she said, boss, your car I saw, but there's no passenger. It struck me then that we were so hugely covered by the media for being the first in Asia to do this, that we had forgotten that we are starting this service for business. We thought it was all to get our publicity. So we were in all the papers, we were on all television channels. So as an entrepreneur, I was thinking, what do I do? How do I get business? We were doing a little bit and because we had no money, we couldn't advertise. So I invented that, no, ye to karna padega abhi. So we created I'm telling you this because as entrepreneurs, you have to do a lot of things. So one of the things that I did was we created fake clients. So who were my fake clients? The 3 women in my house. My one mother-in-law and 2 sisters-in-law. So I went back home one day and I told them, you have to doll up every day now. 9 o'clock you have to be ready. You please doll up. And you also carry lunch for us because we have no time to do all that. So 3 drivers, 3 women who are supposed to be all looking good and sitting in our cabs. So every day these poor ladies, very excited, came down and got into our cars. Huge excitement. Trust me, we showed them Mumbai like they had never seen it before. Everywhere they wanted to go to, they had to go in our vehicle. If they wanted to buy dhania patta, it had to be our car. At the end of 8 days, my in-laws were sick of me because they said, when will you get your first real customer? And we said, of course you will. We are going to get. I said, with your blessings, we are going to get a real customer. And finally, one day, the phone rang. The phone rang and we picked up, somebody picked up the phone, one of our girls who, picked up the phone and she said, this is for she. So the name of my company was, the name of my cab company was For She, which meant for her. And finally, that one moment came when that phone actually rang. And when we picked up the phone, it was a real customer who said, good morning, is it for she? I want to ride from this place to this place. That still rings in my ears, that call. And so now with the real customer, all of us wanted to ride. All of us wanted a real customer. So we were 3 cabs, went to that same location and stood there. And we were hoping that there would at least be 3 women who would come down so that we could get 1 customer each. So when these women started coming down from the building in lovely Kanjivaram saris and we saw them, we said, wow, I saw 1, 2, 3 and they all came down. And we said, that lady was aghast, when she looked at us and she said, but I asked for 1. We said, no, we'll charge you for only 1. But if I had told her that you were our first customer, she would have never taken us. So we would have still be without customers. So we quickly put them in 3 cars and like an entourage we drove. So that's 200 rupees. We collected 200 rupees and we kept them tied up so well that later on I forgot where I had kept them. But we found them at an appropriate time. When I eventually sold my company, in about 10 months' time, I sold my first company, For She, for about 6 crores to a corporate. And we created history. So the rest is, we grew from For She to Veera to Hey Didi. We created the largest, today we are the largest platform for women to come and train themselves for taxi driving. We have trained more than 2,000 girls to become taxi drivers. And we are now on a mission of training 10,000 girls to become last mile delivery service, which is your Pizza Huts, your Amazon, everything you order online. We are creating the women to go and deliver those things. And we hope to be in 10, 15 cities. We are now in 4 cities across India. And I, for one, am extremely proud that we are creating employment for about 100,000 women in the next 5 years. My mission is jobs for 100,000 women in the next 5 years. That's what I want to do. Thank you so much.